So, would I do it again? I've had many printers in the past, big and small, but never a kit printer and never a Voron. It's about time I leveled up.
So, what made you want to build a Voron?
Well, my Ender 3s have been through a lot, so I think it's time I focus on another machine.
Is there a reason for choosing the V0 specifically?
Yeah, it's still Core XY, but it's not as intimidating or costly as a larger machine, and I have plans to build my own larger machine later on down the track, so I don't want to double up just yet.
I noticed you went with a Formbot kit. What made you lean towards that?
Well, it was the easiest and most cost-effective one to get, and I could have printed parts included as well. Formbot did kindly provide a $70 discount, but shipping ended up being just a few cents less than that to New Zealand, so it kind of cancelled out.
Just one last question.
Can we just get to the unboxing now, please? Because this is a kit printer, and a small one at that, not only is the box tiny, but ironically, as the 200-page instruction manual proves, the build time won't be proportional to the size. PTFE tube, hardware, pre-cut, pre-crimped cables, Kirigami bed. This thing's pretty cool, and it's a lot lighter than expected. Silicone heater, high quality micro SD card, tape, zip ties, gates belts, cable chain, meanwhile power supply, power socket, extruder gears and pieces, umbilical toolhead PCB, the display. Lots of acrylic, this stuff is heavy. Extruder motor, Z-axis extruder and bed stuff, some more hardware, a PEI flex plate, power cable, basic hot end, fans, moon stepper motors. These things are small, but they're so heavy. The aluminium bed. This thing is beautiful. Bearings. The main board. I'm guessing this will be the Pi. Yep. Z-axis stepper. This is my first time with this type of stepper. The cutest linear rails I've ever seen. And finally, we have the 5015 extrusions, which are so cute. That's everything. Awesome. Is that sandpaper? I haven't had parts printed in ABS or such filaments in 5 years, so this is awesome to see. I'll finally be able to print these materials on this machine as well. So that's a very nice selection of parts. I didn't realise how cute these little guys are, especially when compared to the common MGN12 rails. It's advisable to clean off the shipping gunk from the rails, so I'm going to do that now. Some people say to use isopropyl alcohol, some say to use mineral spirits. This is some unlabelled mineral spirits, so that's what I'm going to use. Alright, while we wait for those, let's assemble the frame. And now we need to re-grease them. Despite this grease not being perfect, I'm still wondering if I can place it there. No. Okay, I know what I'll do. I wouldn't recommend this if you don't have some experience with linear rails, since these can be fiddly, and once you start losing the little linear balls, it becomes a real pain to try and get them back. There we go, that's one block done. Super easy. Yeah, just a heads up that most of this stuff I still haven't done before, so take it with a grain of salt and always do your research. These metal pieces make it super easy to install the linear rails. You'll see in a second. And we'll be using these screws. There's going to be so much stuff in this video that I'm going to have to cut some stuff out. That's just how it is. Sweet, these are looking awesome, although according to my watch, I'm like 3 or 4 hours into the workday so far, and this is all I've done. Alright, tea break time. I printed a ton of these no-drop nuts thingies, and they're going to be so useful for the rest of the build. Alright, these two pieces will be the start of the frame build. That already looks so cool. Now we just need to temporarily secure them in place. We've got to install a few more nuts. Once again, temporarily tightening the screws. There we go. And now we temporarily install even more extrusions. Okay, so now it wants me to square the frame, but this is where I don't have the guide blocks, but this is just how it is. I think I've done a good enough job. And now we have to put these 58mm from that extrusion, roughly 58mm. So yeah, I think I did good there. And now we can install the kirigami bed. Okay, it might be because it's late, but I could not find that part there. I have searched through all of the printed stuff a few times, but I've got the Creality High fired up, so I think I'm just going to print it out. Sweet, we got the part, and now we're all ready to continue on tomorrow morning. I really need to get my hands on a dedicated heatset insert bit for my soldering iron. The one I'm using currently is not ideal. Nice and easy, sweet. I'm a huge fan of how heatset insert parts look. It must be the colours or something. Since the instructions aren't fully clear about the kirigami bed, I'm just going to install all of the corresponding parts all at once. Assembling everything myself is super satisfying. I can't wait to see how the build is done, but of course, if you're building something like this, it's more about the journey. This is a super cool part. It just slides right into the assembly here, like that. We have another cool part here that just slides in, like that. And then we've got this final part here that should slide in as well. Okay, I've just trimmed the Z-axis and now we can do this, and that is so fun. It's now time to remove those temporary extrusions. Sweet, this is where it gets really exciting now. We can start installing the other pieces. I'm just going to do it roughly first and then do it nicely. Hold on, I've installed this on the wrong side. We're getting there. Okay, this is confusing. If I put pressure, I can move the whole thing like this. Because of the pre-cut extrusions, it's super easy to assemble them all. Kind of looks like one of those Star Wars fighter ships, actually. Yeah. And now we install the H extrusions. The pre-cut holes have made it so much easier. In contrast to the Ender 5 Pro Mercury build video, where I used socket head cap screws more than anything, in this build I'm using button head cap screws more than anything. So it's good to have a bit of variety. We're getting ready to install our first panel. Oh right, I forget these are fingerprint magnets. I'll have to use gloves for the rest of this. Now we just slide in the first panel. Awesome. And now we can slide in another extrusion. I believe these are the final core frame extrusions that aren't part of the top hat. Final one going down. And with that final screw, we have now completed the frame chapter. The day after I finished the frame, but that's all good. Let's just move on to the A and B drives. To make this and many of my other projects possible, PCBWay has lent their support. It's no secret that I enjoy what they offer, and what they offer is a lot. Even after trying SLM, SLS and SLA 3D printing, CNC machining with electroplating and laser cutting with anodization, I've barely scratched the surface of their capabilities. They can simply do it all. If you would like a free instant quote for bringing your files to life, I've left a link to their site in the description below. These are the parts for the AB drive chapter, and I can't wait to install these NEMA 14s. The NEMA 14s look so cute compared to the NEMA 17s, although they are a bit taller, but I can only imagine how they would be in comparison to some, I don't know, NEMA 23s. And of course, here are the actual components. They are looking really cool. I didn't know how well ABS and heatset inserts worked well together. Probably because the last time I used ABS was before I knew what a heatset insert even was. And now we can start assembling the mounts, which is really straightforward. Just like that. This is a bit more awkward than I thought. I'm not sure how to... Oh, I know what I'll do. I believe we just install this on here. Well, that was easy. And there we go. There's our sandwich. Alright, it is now story time. So it's up to the point where we're installing the pulleys now. These. However, instead of just installing them, I'm going to use some thread lock. It's recommended in the manual, but also, back when I was turning my Ender 5 Pro into a Mercury 1.1 all-wheel drive, I had an issue where I was getting subpar accelerations, and that was quite simply because some of the motors didn't have thread lock on the grub screws and they were coming loose, meaning we only had like 1 or 2 motors actually functioning. Took me a while to figure out, but now I know not to make that mistake again. Anyways, moral of the story is don't forget your Loctite. Yeah, that's not going to be loose anytime soon. Awesome. I keep telling myself that this entire build is just a prerequisite for my custom build, and honestly the amount I've already learned from just getting hands-on experience has been amazing, and it's been a lot of fun too. And to get another drive, we simply just Now it's time for the Z-axis chapter, which I've decided the theme will be red. These should be all the components that we need. The reason there's more and lots of printed parts is because we're also going to be doing the feet for the machine as well. First up, we've got to assemble the anti-backlash nut, although I don't expect it to be super easy. These are the parts with a huge spring. If we simply try and assemble the pieces together, the problem is they won't hold. We have to basically get this thing fully installed right away. To make that easier, I'm just going to uninstall this part here. That's why I love these ball-headed hex drivers, because I can do all these angles and yeah, it just works. Love it. They might not be the highest quality, but hey, at least I have 7 of them. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. We have to basically, now I have to push this in. Oh, never mind. And now I have to keep it compressed while I secure it. Oh no, I've got to open this bag while holding this. Okay, this could be tricky, but it's not ideal. And I'm not doing this the best way either. There's got to be a better way. I don't know what I'm doing. And now we can start installing the feet. I believe we also need a modified version of one of these. We simply need to remove this bottom piece here. We can then reinstall it in here like that. It seems I forgot to include the filament runout sensor in our part count earlier. And then we install this little bearing. This is where those self-tapping screws come in handy. We can also test that it works with a bit of filament. Seems to work. Ah yes, welcome back Dune Sandworm. Time to install the parts we just made. These are looking great so far. It's feeling more and more like a finished machine. Now we can install these little decorative pieces. Gonna be a little bit tricky to show. Which way does this go again? I've forgotten. Oh no, I'm covered in grease. I'll be right back. I wonder what I did wrong. I'll need to look back at the footage and see what I was doing. I've been doing this for so long. I've actually had to plug in my camera because it was about to die. It's good, we're making good progress. Alright, we should have no issues moving the bed up and down. I'm just gonna, yeah, and now up. Feels smooth to me. Awesome, let's wrap this up. And that's gonna finish up the Z-axis, feet and red chapter. And now I can stop trying to cram every shot in front of this red piece of, I don't even know what that is. First up, we need to cut open this guy, clean and re-grease him. I think my scissors are dull. I'm going to use isopropyl this time since it's only one rail, and it means that I won't have to leave the studio when it's soaking. It's like toothpaste, except it probably tastes worse. Well, maybe it tastes better, actually, I don't know. Alright, that made up for how easy the other ones were to do, but we got there. Now it's ready to go. grab an extrusion, and there's one other thing that I've forgotten. These little guys. And now we grab our linear rail. Oh, wrong one. And now we grab the screws I've forgotten. We add a couple, add the guides. From the edge to the rail. Now we just slide these bits in. We wouldn't be able to before, because as you can see here, there's a little bit that sticks up. I'm gonna try and get a good angle of that. Yeah, you see that? Super easy, and we're modifying the easier to print part rather than these, which I technically can't reprint again unless I buy some ABS. It's a pretty cool looking assembly. I haven't had a machine with a top mounted rack. Wait, no, that's a lie. I forgot we're going to be using these really small little cute flathead screws. So we've made it to this stage where everything moves. Sweet, this is going to be an awesome machine. Awesome. And that's the X-axis complete. We don't need much for this chapter, but I suspect it's going to be pretty fiddly, but that's alright. The included belts are Gates power grip belts, so they're going to be really good. I've used maybe 3 or 4 different types of belts, and these are definitely my favourite. And now we need to cut 1 meter of belt, I believe for each motor. Not bad, we've got those pretty spot on. Bit hard to see, but putting them together shows that I've got them actually perfect. So that's pretty good. It is nice and secure currently, now we just have to install it and route the belts all the way around the machine. Alright, let's do the bottom belt first. And now we've got the other ones sorted too. This is one of the main reasons I took this project, because I wanted to get a better understanding with Core XY, so that designing my own custom printer from scratch would be a little bit easier. It was a little bit awkward to do, but I've managed to get the other belts in. And so now we can work on getting rid of that slack. I've already loosened these back things so that we can tighten them even more. Yeah, now it's just refining this. Well, that's why you're supposed to measure twice and cut once. I was wondering why I cut so much off one of the belts. It's because I forgot to do it around this idler here. Luckily they do give us plenty of spare belt, which is really nice and has saved me. Well, I've got plenty of spares, but yeah, awesome. Alright, that last clip was 55 minutes ago, but I think I've managed to get these tensioned. Yeah, definitely one of the more tedious ones, but the belt stuff is always pretty enjoyable at the end. Yeah, only at the end actually. Doesn't look like much once again in this chapter, but it's going to fill the gap on the bed, and I think it's going to look really cool, like the rest of the machine. I've been looking forward to this part the entire time. Actually, I'm going to get some gloves on. I forgot we're wiping down the build plate anyway, but I just can't be bothered to take these off now. What a beautiful piece of metal. Shoot, I might have to buy another one of these and just have it on my shelf. Lovely sound. Yeah, I can't be bothered with the gloves anymore. I've got IPA here anyway. Let's get the plate unboxed. What a cute little plate. This is a 235mm one, so standard sized. Oh nice, it's got a smooth side on the back. Beautiful. And I managed to get it pretty much 99%. Legendary. Pre-installed connectors and a thermal fuse. That's awesome. I love assemblies like that. Not fully sure about the thermal fuse, but I think there's a mounting hole here for it. I'm going to install this with a socket head screw and a washer. Oh, and this isn't a how-to, guys. I'm sure you guys are aware that this is my first time building one of these, so please let me know if you're more experienced and have some suggestions or improvements, that sort of thing. Extra layer of safety. Okay, that was a little bit messy than expected, but we got there in the end, and now we can install the screws and have them go all the way down into the milled out thingies. Actually, I've got an idea. What if I just do this? And now we quite simply just do this. Sweet. These little bed things are way too small. I think I should swap them out to something bigger later on. They'll be good enough for now though. I've managed to tuck the cables around a little bit, and then I've routed them under here and through the guide channels, and we should be able to attach it to this link here. It's pretty clean actually, I really like it. Now we can install the cable chain part, which I'm just going to slide down here for now, and then we're just going to link the two pieces together. To wrap this chapter up, let's install the plate. I'll just clean up the workspace a little bit. Not bad at all. I'm pretty confident this is a good tip, so I'm going to share it. By removing the connector from the JST terminals for the thermistor, you can guide them a whole lot easier through here using some PTFE tube, for example, or whatever you have handy. With these cables, it's a bit easier since they're a bit more rugged, but yeah, for fiddly cables like this, it's a huge difference. Funnily enough, just like that, you can now see the best cable management I've ever showcased on this channel. Not bad at all. Alright, this chapter has quite a few more components than a couple of the previous ones, so it might take a little bit longer, but it's going to be really exciting because we are installing the hot end, some of the extruder parts, all of the extruder parts, and yeah, it's going to be good fun. The machine will look pretty much fully functional after we do this, although we'll still have the electronics and firmware to go. And because this assembly is pre-made, we can skip a step in the instructions. Now we just need to install a couple of bearings. Since it'll be easier, I'm just going to take one of the bearings from the extruder gear thing and just install it there. Apparently we're supposed to install another bearing, so I'm just going to take that off the extruder. I don't know why we were installing them in the first place. These multi-piece assemblies are so satisfying and fun to do. Definitely one of my favourite parts of this build. Such a cool assembly. I really like it. Sweet, now we can finally add this. Okay, actually, because this was pre-assembled, I think it's been assembled the wrong way. I'm not sure how that's happened. But I just need to swap this the other way around. Just like that. Bit hard to see, but now the gears can actually interlock together. Before they were mismatched. And I wasn't doing this before, but now we can actually spin this gear around, so that's good. Sweet. We've got the correct tension now too. These are going to be a little bit underpowered, but that's alright, I've got some stuff planned. That's looking nice and neat. It's already decently heavy though. I know the flow on this hot end won't be amazing, but I've had great quality with a similar model, so I'm hoping I'll get the same here. I also may or may not absolutely love the blue heatsink design. It has such good contrast with the red build, although I don't think we'll be able to see it. At least we will know it's there under the hood though, for now. We can just install the PTFE tube, and then to get the correct length, we install this jig on top. And this is where we cut. Yeah, that's decent. assembly's getting a bit heavier and a bit more packed, but it's so satisfying sliding this almost cartridge style thing into it. Oh, that's awesome. I am really enjoying this so far if you can't tell, although in all honesty, the filming has probably made this build 3 or 4 times longer than it would normally be and made it definitely a bit more tedious. But yeah, a fair trade-off I think. Plus, I get to make a cool video.
Oh, hold on a sec. I forgot to install the hot end fan. I was wondering why something looked off. Give me a second. Okay, that is actually really rigid. That's awesome. Oh, I love this so much. It is still quite surreal having one of these in front of me. I've always looked up to them while doing the other projects like the Ender 5 and Limits Ender 3s and all that. Okay, I need to actually stop yapping and just make some more progress and make sure I do things right. Now we can install those spacers here. I'll let Magic take care of that. Despite reading the chapters in advance to get the parts lists for the start of the chapters, I still keep forgetting parts and making mistakes. At least I fixed them in the end. All right, this is where that whole pack of zip ties they provided comes in handy. All right, I didn't know we were installing it in this chapter, but it looks like the Toolhead PCB is going to get installed now. So that's going to be cool. After hearing that CAN bus can have some issues sometimes with setup among other things, I'm more than comfortable to be using a Toolhead PCB like this, and I might consider doing something similar in the future too. I think I also need to change these bolts to something different. Easy. Let's do another fancy transition here where I fix this up. I find it amazing that you can do so much with just a couple of zip ties, although I've been a bit erratic with them. If there's anyone out there with a degree in these things, please let me know if there's any theory I can use for next time. I'd say this is the final major chapter before we do the panels and all that, and that's really not going to be as hard as this. We're going to be installing the main board of the Pi. I think I'm going to run UART instead of USB, but since I've already done the Toolhead today, we're going to have to wait until next time. Okay, it's next time, so let's get straight to it. I've given up on wearing gloves. There's something about bolting a panel to the frame that gives us a ton more mounting options. It's quite fun. Some metal panels would be great though. And then I'll just do the other one of these. That's going to make mounting things a whole lot easier. Let's use some of this. Well, I got the tapes mixed up, but let's use some of this. Yeah, I think those are pretty strong. Let's unbox the Big Tree Tech Pi. I haven't actually had one before, so this is pretty exciting. Legendary. I like how Big Tree Tech products aren't sealed because it means I can unbox them before I start filming so I can have a little play around. Oh, this thing is so pretty. Because the thing is, I plan these projects months in advance, and so the parts arrive and then I'm not able to play with them. It's so sad. Now, I've had all sorts of Big Tree Tech mainboards, but never the Pico. Oh, this guy's so cute. Wait, he's tiny. The heatsink's pretty cool. I might be biased, but I think Big Tree Tech always kills it with product design. Unironically, it all looks so good. In total, I have 9 of these guys. Let's do a count at the end of the year. That's a nice looking power supply. I haven't had a Meanwhile one in a long time. Have I ever had one? It didn't seem to come with a protective guard. Interesting. Maybe we can print one. Surely that's what this part is here for, right? I mean, it does fit. We'll see in a sec. Takes up quite a bit of space on the bottom. It's not really possible to access these bolts under here to screw them in, but you can just remove these because they're so easy to take off. Just a heads up that there will be now mains wiring in the next couple of chapters. This is not a guide. Preferably do not follow what I do It's important to exercise extreme caution when doing mains wiring. On a side note, having everything crimped and heat shrunk is absolutely amazing. It's saved me so much time. And they do it for a lot of the things as well. This is one of my favorite things about having a kit rather than self-sourcing. Also, this switch on this unit sounds amazing. The cables are the absolute perfect length while still including some slack for cable management. And this one here should be the Z-axis end stop connector. Okay, I'm going to install all the wires. Okay, I've installed all the wires. I haven't tidied them up yet, but we've got quite a few more to do. We've also got to install the breakout board PCB. There weren't too many instructions on installing the frame PCB. I'm just going to use some M3 by 6mm screws, and there's some heatset inserts here that we can use. Specifically the middle ones. We essentially just have to slide the PCB in like that, and now we screw it in. I quite like this breakout board solution. I prefer it over CAN. I've never tried CAN, but I've heard that there can be issues with running it, and I just want something simple. Come on. This is going to tidy up nicely. Okay, I'm proud to say the wiring is now complete. It's now time to make it look nice. I'll be right back. If I went with UART mode, I wouldn't have to have this super long USB Type-C cable, but that's alright. Some cable channels would have been nice to make this a bit more tidy looking, but this will be fine for now. Alright, now comes the fun part. I think that's all of them. Okay, I actually think I did a decent enough job. I've done worse in the past. I think I've done better, but that'll be good enough for now. Time to install that cable. I've just remembered, but I completely forgot that this thing was in pieces in a box just a couple of weeks ago. That's so cool. We've really turned this into something. Sweet, and I believe now if we had Klipper installed, we could get to printing already, but we've got a few more steps left. I'm gonna do the firmware stuff once we've got the panels and all the other stuff installed. Alright, it's now the skirts and panels chapter. There's quite a lot of stuff here, so some of it may be used, some of it might not be. It was pretty hard to figure out what I might need, even just by following the instructions in advance. I quite like how the machine looks, all bare bones like this without the panels, but maybe in a few months we'll take them off again. We'll see what happens with that sequel I have planned. I may or may not have put one of the skirt things on the wrong way, but surely we can just fix that in post, right? The majority of mistakes I've made in this video can be pretty easily linked to a lack of concentration or just silly mistakes. I can't even blame it on being tired, since I do most of these chapters on separate days. I'm just pretty clumsy. Maybe it would be wise of me to stop listening to music while doing these so that I could get all my concentration. Yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Listening to music while building a Voron, while getting cool camera angles, is so fun. I quite like the set for this chapter, although I must admit it's the hardest one to film in. Filming into a corner isn't usually the most enjoyable. I was supposed to add a diffuser piece for the LED, but I couldn't find mine. Wait, hold on a sec. Are these for cable management? Oh, I didn't think to use these. Maybe they're used later, but I think I could have made this a whole lot easier. Oh well.
It's a new era for me, doing a bit more cable management than I'm used to.
The closest I've come to doing a full kit build are the conversions I did for the Ender 5 Pro. But this is a whole nother level. I'm building such a stronger connection with my machine that you just don't really get when you're buying off the shelf machine, you know? Still, I admit this is not for everyone. Okay, that's pretty satisfying. Not sure how clean this looks on camera, but I'm just gonna give it a little bit more of a clean. Wow, that looks flawless. I know I'm sounding like a broken record where this is satisfying, that is satisfying, but like doing a good job in the electronics and then closing it all off and making it nice and clean, there's just something super satisfying about that. Flip this guy over. For some reason, I was under the impression this machine would be, you know, pretty lightweight. But no, it weighs at least 4 kilos already and is probably going to increase a bit more. I'm genuinely a bit confused about the PTFE thing since it doesn't stay in the hot end Toolhead extruder thing, mini stealth burner. I don't know, I'm just going to leave it for a bit and maybe it'll solve itself. All right, let's start getting those side panels installed. I think I've got an idea for how we can speed this up. Oh, not bad, that saved us a little bit of time. Let's do the other side now. That's looking pretty good. You almost can't tell it's there. It's now time to install those magnets. We need to install a couple of them into this little piece here. I was advised to super glue these, but now my fingers are covered in super glue. I'll be right back. The instructions have requested that these two magnet holders are 69mm apart, but instead of fumbling around, I could just use the handle to position them. That's probably the smartest decision I've made in this build. And this is unfortunate. The regular no-drop nuts that I've used are too far apart. I would have had to use this part, but I didn't think to install it. That's all right though. And now we need to attach these side pieces to this panel using VHB tape. I'm actually getting this tape cut perfectly. We're making good progress. Now we're installing the screw, which is going to be like the hinge for the door. We should be able to pretty easily install the door just like this. Now we install this bolt on the top. All that's left now is the top hat extrusions and panels. All right, give or take a few parts, this looks like most of what we'll be using for the final build chapter, the top hat. This is pretty exciting. Right, I need to grab a couple of these M3 nuts, a few of these no-drop nuts, and install them in the extrusions. Okay, we've got a couple, but I think we're going to need a few more. After all that, I am one short, although I do have a smaller one, which won't affect performance or anything. I'll just use that instead. Since this won't affect precision of prints, it doesn't really need to be square, I think. Okay, now I'm just going to square this up a little bit. That's looking pretty good so far. I just realised I got the tapes mixed up, but I've switched it over to the VHB tape now, and the handle actually stays on. I can't believe I didn't understand that. Sweet, I think that's finished. Now let's get some of those other side panels installed. Alright, that's one side done. Now we have to do 3 others. Finally finished the top hat, and I hate to say it, but that was my least favourite part of this entire build, and I'm pretty concerned that it was entirely skill-based. But that's alright, now we're done and we can install it. So first up, I'm just gonna place it on top. Oh, that looks awesome. Now we just install some M3x12s to act as the hinges. I have been building this for so long now, I can't believe I've actually finished it. Well, aside from the firmware, the physical build. Wow. Can we do a montage real quick? I think I'll do that. with this nice micro SD card that came in the kit, I'm going to install Klipper and we're going to get the configs installed. I'm not going to show too much of it since I'm kind of a bit burnt out about showing the whole Klipper thing. It's not very interesting, but yeah. I have not powered on the machine yet, although this LED has turned on. Let's just go for it. Pico's turned on. Pi, bit hard to see, but the Pi LED has turned on as well. Oh, the front panel. Hey, the front panel has turned on as well. I wired everything correctly. First try. Actually, I don't want to speak too soon. We haven't got the config set up. There might be some niche issue. No, it should be fine. Okay, Klipper is fully installed. Now let's do the config. Oh, right. No visible changes. It's incredibly quiet, and I don't know the correct term, but there's like a coil whine, or there's some sort of whine coming from the power supply. I'm sure it doesn't affect anything, but I will look into it. Well, I don't know the percentage of people who print on the go with their Voron Zero. The whole point of it is that it's a small and portable machine somewhat, and good for prototyping. So I'm wondering if I make a battery bank that's the same size as this bottom thing that raises the machine up and allows us to make it portable. If you guys want to see that, please let me know. All right, my first test is actually just going to be heating up for PLA. A few of the fans have just turned on. The hot end is heating up, the bed is heating up. Alrighty, let's do a PID tune for the hot end. Just a basic 200. Well, that was quick. Sweet, now we can save and restart and then do the bed. Also, the coil whine for the power supply has stopped, so that's nice. I believe that's the one for the heated bed. Yes, it is. Still got it. A heated bed PID tune may seem overkill, but the more factors we have under our control, the better. Plus, it's only like 3 minutes of our time. Alright, now let's do the fans. Fans. I've just noticed our hot end fan is not spinning even though we are at 55 degrees Celsius. So we need to adjust the configs there. I just discovered that this third fan connector here does not have the matching polarity. Can I show that from here? There, if I zoom in on that, you can see the plus side is on the right, but there's a negative wire there. So I need to swap those, but also the umbilical PCB needs to be double checked. One of the wires in there needed to be swapped around. Sweet, nothing got damaged, and that is precisely why I left the electronics cover open in case I would have to do that. Unfortunately, as expected, those 3010s are pretty weak, but I have some solutions in store. Okay, now it's gonna ramp up. I'm gonna hit home X in 3, 2, 1. Yo, it moved. Both the X and Y axes use sensorless homing, so we have to tune both of them. Well, that was easy. Now the Y axis. Cakewalk. Awesome. That's what I like about building and working with printers that have quite a large community and resources available, because there's always a solution somewhere, there's always information. Love it to bits. I believe all we have to do now is calibrate the E-steps or rotation distance for the extruder, level the bed, and we are good to print. Hold on, I can't believe I didn't notice this. I didn't take off the protective film for the PEI. Oh, what a beautiful print surface. One of my favorites. Way better than those borosilicate glass beds or whatever. I never really liked using those ones. Yeah, these leveling knobs are pretty bad. I need to find a mod for that immediately. I really need to get a leveling probe on here. I think a beacon should suffice. Right, guys? Alrighty, now we're all ready to print, but first I would like to install this BigTreeTech S2DW accelerometer and run Input Shaper. $12 or something to get more power and quality from our printer. That's a no-brainer for me. It's also the exact reason why I've left the electronics bay open. It's really nice having access to a full-size Pi instead of those Pi Zeros. Oh, interesting, this nozzle didn't actually have a CHT geometry in there. Luckily, I have a few that do. The one on the left is one that I've had in storage with the insert, and the one on the right is the stock one, so this should give us a nice performance boost. I will switch it out with a 0.4mm brass nozzle just for that tiny little extra boost in performance, since we're not printing abrasives just yet. Sweet, looks like this will work. I haven't run Input Shaper on the nozzle in a very long time. Because of the height of the fan ducts for the mini stealth burner, I had to rotate the accelerometer, but that won't affect performance. And because this is a Core XY 3D printer, we don't have to do the X-axis, calibrate it, and then do the Y-axis. We can just send a calibration command and it'll do both. Can you hear that? Oh, frame's rattling. Now it should start doing the Y-axis. Yes, it is. whoa, what did that say? What did that say? Recommend Max Excel 38,000. These are numbers higher than I've ever seen. I gotta get these graphs immediately. I'll put the graphs on screen for anyone who wants to see them. And here are the numbers that I've plugged into my config. Awesome, I'm pretty excited. The left graph, the x-axis graph, does look a little bit messy. Something's gotta be loose somewhere. I'm sure if I really look into it, I'll find a flaw. Let's just get to printing though. This is gonna be my setup for the first couple of prints. Nothing major, just because I don't have the electronics panel on just yet. You'll see why later on. Okay, this is completely stock slicer settings. You might need to adjust the bed a tiny bit. It's extruding! That first layer, let's go! The temps are 200 for the hot end, 55 for the bed. Although I believe the stock is 45, which is a bit low. Okay, let's see the speeds after the first layer. Actually, I'm gonna restart this print, guys. Alright, turns out the slicer had a volumetric flow rate cap of 2 for this filament. 2 cubic millimeters per second, and I also upped the bed temp, so this should be a lot quicker now. Well, that was a good movement. That must be the... oh, that's a very good speed. Not crazy, but if it can keep that up, I want to see how the quality is. It's pretty quiet too. We're requesting 200 millimeters velocity at 5000 XL. That's so rewarding after spending a dozen or 2 dozen hours on this thing, however long I spent. The lack of cooling is pretty evident. Oh, that's gyroid infill. Oh, that's mesmerizing to watch. I'm pretty excited to see how this will turn out so I can see what I need to calibrate, tune, or if I've completely butchered the frame assembly. It's getting there, it's had a few hiccups and it's not perfect, but yeah, I need to stop talking and we'll see when it's actually done. Alright, 38 minutes. Let's take a closer look at this guy and evaluate him. I'd say this side looks the worst. There's, I'm guessing that's under extrusion. It could do with some pressure advance. The corners need more cooling. The layer lines at least look good. Y-axis is pretty similar. Top surfaces are pretty good. And first layer wasn't perfect, although overhangs seem to be okay. I'll print a couple more things and then we'll get straight into the upgrades that will hopefully give us a huge boost in print quality and speed. Now I'm starting a speed benchy with Speedbot race rules. Oh yeah, I might have upped the acceleration values just a little bit. Yeah, that cooling's not going to be able to keep up, but that's alright. This thing's meant for ABS, which we also need to do a test of. I can't tell what those artifacts are, if they're extrusion related or if it's related to the Z-axis, but since we can change the extrusion stuff pretty easily, I'm going to see what I can do first. Just under 30 minutes. It seems the top half is looking better than the bottom half. I'm going to tune pressure advance, see if that makes a difference, but I also wonder if the heat coming off of the bed is also affecting it. I don't know. Since this is PLA, let's test it with ABS because, I mean, that's the whole point, we have a chamber. This is ABS Plus from Orville 3D. I have not printed ABS in 5 years, so let's see how it goes. And so this is with the ABS Plus. I'm interested to see how it'll turn out. Actually, the cable chain in the back here might be contributing to the issues. I will look into that. Aside from the strange vertical artifacts that I think they were caused by the Z-axis, maybe I'll have to upgrade that, I don't know just yet. But aside from that, print quality is looking good. And it's still early days. Day 1 of printing, I keep forgetting that. And that's our ABS Benchy. Successfully completed, so that's already a good sign. It's not perfect, but some of it actually looks surprisingly good. There's a few areas that could do with some improvements, but yeah, speaking of those improvements, let's get straight into them. Oh wow, that's actually been doing really well. Oh, I'm excited to see how the rest of it will turn out now. And that's with ABS. I'm pretty impressed. Alright, let's get that taken off. Oh, okay, yeah, this is a bit awkward. Let me put this down. Future Tommy here. I kind of forgot to record my live opinion, but that's all right. Top surfaces look okay. The overhang and bridging tests did so well. Accuracy test did decently. I know it can do better with a better leveled bed. Retractions, yeah, that didn't do too well, but it does get better. Really good overhang performance. I don't know what the circles measure, but they're looking really good as well. And yeah, overall, I'd say this is a 6 out of 10. As expected, ABS seems to be printing nicely, although I did print it a bit too fast on this part here. But now let's get these improved leveling nuts installed, as well as this strain relief piece. I ordered these expecting them to not be compatible with my soldering iron. It was just a $5 test, but it somehow fits perfectly and I'm super excited to try it out. And naturally it arrives once I've done the majority of the heatset inserts. That works so well. Well, that's so cool. Sweet, let's install these. I'm still wondering if the bed is meant to be this flimsy. I mean, it wobbles up and down quite a lot, and same with the rail. There was a machined bed for sale on AliExpress. I might look into that. Welcome to the final chapter, which is installing a couple of these upgrades. We've got the Trianglelab Dragon Ace hot end, we've got some large 120-32 blower fans, and the mounting stuff for the auxiliary, mainly improving on cooling and extrusion, since the motion system on this machine is pretty capable. Because of this toolhead connector, we can actually just remove the whole assembly. So this is good because we need to remove this fan, the hot end. Now I will have to double check, but I believe this is the same mounting pattern as the Dragon Ace, so it should hopefully be an easy swap. And here's a comparison between the size of... Unfortunately I destroyed the silicone sock, but that shouldn't decrease performance that much. I did have to remove the toolhead fans to free up a port, so now I've got 4 of those really weak 3010 fans. I'll have to find a use for them. Auxiliary cooling should make up for it, but I need a new toolhead so that this doesn't look so empty. To start with the auxiliary upgrade, we're going to need the fan and the duct itself. We simply just install it on the top like this. As you can see, there's a nice mounting point there where we can screw something in. Looks like I'm going to use some M3x8 socket head screws and some M3 washers. Not only is it rewarding by having all the right hardware, it's incredibly satisfying too, because you honestly don't need to think about the bill of materials much, for certain projects at least. You just know that you have everything on hand. Oh, and these were printed in PLA, so I wonder if they'll melt in the chamber temperature. Alright, now that we've got our fans, we need to install the base plate with these little adapters here. What I find particularly interesting is we don't have to use any no-drop nuts. We can just install these pieces and then twist them, and that's really solid. Now would be a good time to finish off this mount. Super easy. This is an interesting one. I believe we slide this in. I need to figure out how this... Oh, wait. I'll be right back. I've got the base installed now and one of the top things, although we've got one more to install. What I've noticed is that the integrated cable management things are so cool. I need to start doing this when I start designing parts. It's a really neat feature. And with both clips installed, that is looking really cool. It is nice and stable too, and I added a little bit of VHB tape as recommended, so these shouldn't rattle around at all. And so it might be looking a little bit messy now. It's like maybe we should go with some opaque panels instead of some clear ones. Well, I have something to say about that later on. What's even cooler is that the wires don't have a connector on them, which means that we can actually route them under the panel and through the extrusion out the back. So it's gonna be super clean. I'm just gonna do the other side real quick. That's looking amazing. I always love the way how auxiliary cooling looks, but it looks even funnier on the V0 because it takes up so much of the space. Once we get those panels that I'm not meant to say anything about, it's gonna look even better. What I have to do now is toolhead wiring and this. Also, this thing really needs a top handle, especially after the way I showed it in the intro. Okay, the toolhead wiring is not perfect. I'm not fully pleased with it, so I will revisit it in part 2. Wait. Part 2. This is one of the few instances where I bring the printer to the soldering iron and not the soldering iron to the printer. Just printing a little benchy, nothing major. It's doing really well actually. The cooling could be more powerful. I do have it limited because I don't know the fan port current rating on the Pico. It looks so menacing. I absolutely love it. It looks really compact too with all of this stuff filling up the build area. I love it, I love it. While I haven't tested it, so I can't confirm, one thing that I think is the case is that these fans may not be enough for super fast PLA printing, but for ABS in the heated chamber and other filaments that don't need as much cooling, I think these will be perfect combined with the larger hot end. I think it's the belt tension that's causing issues, because I wasn't able to get as tight as recommended, even though the tensioners are as far as they can go currently. I think that's doing really well actually. I'm still amazed that this thing was just a box of parts a few weeks ago. I think that's the belt tension, but if so, we can fix that. This is already looking like an 8 out of 10 quality benchy. I haven't even tuned the new hot end yet. I'm sort of beyond words, but not numbers. Awesome, let's compare that to stock, although I don't know how long it took. I can't access mainsail. Okay, so retraction's a bit more prominent on the original one, but the right one just looks a bit cleaner. They both still have the artifacting there. I need to look into it if that's pressure advanced, the belts, this or that, but yeah, I am so happy. Let's do some ABS prints now. I had no idea ABS was so good at bridging. I'm currently printing a tool for the belt tension. It's amazing because I can just send it off and it just zooms. That's amazing. Mainsail said this took 10 minutes. 10 minutes for a full belt tensioning tool. That's awesome, and it's quite hot. Now I can tension these even more and get proper tension. Sweet, I think that's good. The Y-axis is able to go all the way to the back, completely flush. I'd say that's a 7.5 out of 10 benchy. There's still a little bit of artifacting, but it's looking really good considering the amount of time I've spent tuning. But now, I think it's time we do a little speed print. I don't know why, but I set the acceleration in the slicer to 50,000, and then mainsail or Klipper just limits it to, what was that, 20,000? And so I have to click on the thing to enable 50,000. I don't get that. I have the limits on the slicer set to 50,000. I have the limits on Klipper itself for the config set to 50,000. I don't know, I've never been able to solve that, but if someone knows, please let me know. Actually, sorry to interrupt. It was going well, even with a lack of cooling. So hopefully this next one will be even better. Okay, I'm gonna be ready on the timer this time. Go. 2, 1, and now full acceleration, 50,000. And the fans are going full speed. Awesome. I'm excited for this. Sub 10! Oh yeah, this is also with a 0.4mm nozzle. All of my other benchies are with 0.6mm nozzles, but with a smaller line width. 7 minutes in, it's looking good. 9 minutes in, pretty sure sub 10 is in the bag. It's not going to have enough cooling for the smokestack. We've got time to slow it down. Come on, come on, come on. Slow down, buddy, slow down. Easy. 9:43. Absolutely legendary. Let's bring this guy up, huh? 9:43. Oh, that's a little bit warm in there. As expected, yep, definitely showing signs of needing more cooling. You can see there, edges aren't perfect. I have seen worse, I have seen better, but yeah. Anything under sub 10, always a win in my books. The most important factor for a successful 3D boaty print is the first layer. Not sure about that one. Oh, maybe it can recover. Nope, not recover. It just takes a second for the filament to... Why is it going full speed now? This is the one. I'm feeling it. Nice and gentle first layer. Never mind, I think I'm gonna call it for the 3D boaty test for now. I think I'm also gonna call it for this video now so I can get out of this suit. It is summer, the lights are on, and I can't keep wearing this. Overall, for the realistically small amount of work I did on this machine after I got it printing, before and after upgrades, I'd say I'm very pleased with the quality I've achieved. I'm yet to print more prototypes on there, but I will be using the machine more and getting a better understanding of what I like and don't. Once I iron out those artifacts, whatever they may be, I will have no complaints on print quality as the machine is already holding its own against my current and previous machines. I went into this build with pretty high expectations and I'm pleased to say they were met. Since of course, this is a Voron and an open source project, I intend to keep modifying it until I get the results I'm looking for and can really call the machine my own. I'll share more details on this in the near future and I'll put a basic pros and cons list on screen now. That being said, this isn't as simple as reviewing a smartphone, for example. It's a mix of factors including Formbot sourcing of the parts, Voron's design and the builder's skill. But considering all that, I think this is a really fun product, even for the price. I was originally going to say it's not a machine I would usually consider, but considering now that I have the ability to print ABS parts quickly and effectively and well, I think that's the second contributing factor for me, with the main one being modifiability. I'm not dismissing the journey either, it was a fun and key part of the experience, and honestly, making the video made me appreciate the machine and journey even more now that it's done. Regarding the obviously compact build volume, realistically 70% or so of the prints I've done in the last 5 years would fit on that bed, so that's not an issue in my books. Plus, the chamber heats up quickly due to the smaller size as well, and I'm pretty impatient. A larger Voron is definitely on my radar now, especially one without those fiddly 50-15 extrusions. But I have other projects planned first, unless something big changes. If you have any questions or feedback, please let me know. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. No way.